seems like everything continues to change and evolve daily, and it's really no different for economic development organizations. Retention's always a high priority for economic development organizations. That hasn't changed at all. If anything, it's increased, but how we go about it has definitely changed. I'll give you a few examples. Chamber here in Ankeny has designed a t-shirt that they're selling locally in stores and encouraging people to purchase the t-shirts to give the proceeds to small businesses as grants. Look at what the partnership has done with encouraging people to order takeout. Like, these are retention activities that were not even on anyone's radar just a few weeks ago. And I think civic organizations and cities are going to do more of those kind of hyper local campaigns, especially as we get into summer, because we anticipate people staying closer to home. Summer vacation season is going to be a lot different. So these initiatives I anticipate helping with recovery, and then it's going to be more focused on local spending, kind of helping with recovery through that. Some of the bigger issues, you know, going into this, it wasn't a surprise, we all knew it, that the number one issue that businesses were facing was workforce related. You know, cities and regions, they could win projects based on workforce availability and talent attraction. And I think with unemployment unfortunately creeping up, those marketing campaigns, those economic development strategies are going to change. They're going to shift probably to more local related initiatives. Workforce still an issue, of course, especially on the talent side, but with more availability, some of those concerns are going to change from the business perspective. You know, I, over the last about 2 or 3 weeks, have spoken with 20 of our largest employers here in Ankeny, and one of the questions I've asked all of them is how working from home is going, well, actually, if working from home over the last several weeks is going to have a long-term impact on business operations going forward. Every employer that I've spoken with have said absolutely. The degree definitely varies. You know, most of them have said there's going to be greater flexibility for employees, kind of what Mark said. Working from home, occasionally, maybe instead of taking PTO with a sick child, you can just work from home, or you're waiting for the cable company to show up, you can work from home. But I've had companies tell me specifically that they're anticipating when their lease is up that they're going to reduce their footprint because they've been forced to learn how to allow employees to work from home, and it's gone well for some of them. Some of the good that's come out of that is also I've talked to companies that are better prepared now for disasters, natural disasters. They now have the equipment wherewithal to have seamless operations in the event, unfortunate event, something like that were to happen. So I know those situations aren't ideal for the development community. It's not ideal for cities who collect revenues through property taxes, but obviously that greater flexibility is going to be good for employees. Shifting to the government side, you know, hotel motel tax revenues, state gaming revenues that flow to Polk County, and the counties around the state, as well as gas tax revenues flowing to the state. I mean, it's no secret those funds and revenue streams have been really decimated. And unfortunately, those funds fund a lot of critical infrastructure projects and quality of life amenities. Look at the hotel motel tax funds that flow to Bravo, for example, the cultural amenities. With those revenue streams nearly gone, hopefully not for too long, I mean, it's going to have an impact on projects, whether it's state-funded, city-funded infrastructure projects, or some of those kind of nice-to-have quality of life amenities that we enjoy and have, you know, take a lot of pride in our region. So some of those will be delayed. I know some of them already are, and I anticipate more being delayed longer term because it's going to take a while, unfortunately, for those revenues to come back. I'll end with some good news. You know, some sectors definitely remain strong. We went into this with logistics industry being strong, and I think with more e-commerce activity that could be stronger. We do know, as many of the participants today know, there's still projects out there, big projects trying to land somewhere. We had a groundbreaking yesterday, so not everything is dried up. Right here in Ankeny, our new home permits are right on par with what they were last year at this time, as well as overall valuation. So April and May tell a different story, but right now I think overall commercial real estate, and at least in the economic development world, is kind of holding its own right here in central Iowa.
Well, and I have to imagine, some of the things that you just talked about there, if the way Iowa has been affected in comparison to maybe the coasts have been affected, that's got to be something that, from an economic development perspective, will be something that could be attractive. And that's one of the reasons the data centers we're locating here for security purposes. And I'm curious what your thoughts are, real briefly, just so before we move on to our next speaker on that thought.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, Chris. It's a sensitive topic, but you're on point. Businesses, even residents, even from the talent side, recruiting residents to the state. I mean, we need more people in Iowa, and this pandemic is going to have people really reconsidering where they choose to live, and do they want to live in a dense environment. Businesses are going to be looking at the same thing in terms of continuity of operations, or if it's multiple facilities, it's spreading them out a little bit so one can stay running while another may be on a shutdown. So it will have an impact. We may see that in some future outreach strategy, marketing efforts, not just here in Iowa, but other states.